Hey guys, Tony Denaro here. Welcome back to the channel. I know a lot of you are wondering here in 2023 or 2024, what is it going to take as far as domestic box office or global box office for AMC to post a positive quarter?
Yes.
Earnings per share at least one penny or higher. And I did a little model on Excel, extrapolating from some previous data to what it would take. Let's take a look. We just finished up the first quarter of 2023. The numbers came in at 1.7 billion according to Box Office Mojo for domestic box office. And when we look at some projections for the entire year of 2023 from thenumbers.com, they have an estimate of 2023 right here of $7.8 billion. I've seen other estimates as high as $9 billion. So if we reflect back to a number between 7.8 and 9 billion minus 1.7 billion, the quarter we already have in the bag, that gives us an average per quarter of 2 billion to 2.4 billion for the remaining 3 quarters of 2023. Now that is an average. There could be a higher Q2, for example, but that's kind of what we're working with, between 2 to 2.4 billion per quarter on average for the remainder of this year. As we get into 2024, the industry is expecting domestic box office numbers around 11 billion. That would give us an average per quarter in 2024 of 2.75 billion. Wow. Obviously, as we know, the quarters vary. Some will be a little higher, some will be a little lower. With those numbers in mind, let's take a look at the spreadsheet. Okay, looking at the spreadsheet here, I've got 5 recent quarters here in the yellow at the top. Starting with Q2 2019, that was a quarter that AMC posted a positive earnings. And then I have the last 4 quarters from 2022, Q4 through Q1. I used that data plus the domestic box office numbers reported on Box Office Mojo. That is right here at the very top. All of the data that AMC has in their financial statements on the income statement is here in the spreadsheet. And I had to make some extrapolations because I only have the domestic box office. So I translated that to admissions, even though I know admissions is global. Just work with me here. These numbers work out. On average, when we look at domestic box office, it's around 28%. 28% of the domestic box office is a good number to use for what you can expect for AMC's total global admissions. Then on the next line, looking at food and beverage, I calculated what percentage of admissions translates into additional revenue for food and beverage. And on average, that has been anywhere from 52 to 61%, depending on what year and what quarter you're looking at. I'm going to use, going forward for my estimates, 61%, because what I've noticed is that although it used to be really low, 50, 52%, as AMC is adding new food items and more expensive food items and drinks and more bars, the percentage of money that people are spending for food and beverage is going up. You guys might have seen some recent tweets about that. So we're going to use 61% for the model for quarters going forward. The other thing that the data and this model shows us is that whatever the admissions is globally for AMC, AMC actually retains about 50% of that. So when we look at the cost, film exhibition cost, it's generally about 50% of what admissions is. And then when we look at food and beverage, we want to know what percentage of that was kept as profit. So I looked at the cost, and it's on average about 16% cost, about 84% profit. That is key to know, guys. 84% profit on food and beverage is huge. Every other number on the income statement is relatively static. So these are our variables that we're going to be looking at for the model. Let's do the magic now. Using the assumptions that I have here in the left-hand column, the percentages that I just went over with, averaged or extrapolated out from previous quarters. Again, this is not exact science, guys. This is just to get us in the ballpark. But using these assumptions, all we have to do is put in a number for domestic box office for a future quarter. Let's call it Q2 2023, and it will tell us if we have a profit at the end of the quarter. And I know what that number is. I'm going to go ahead and put it in. It will be 2.73 billion. That will get us 1 penny for the net profit on any future quarter. Again, subject to the assumptions that I have here, not counting popcorn, not counting paying off any debt, not counting credit cards, just the data we have. What number do we need to hit to get at least 1 penny of earnings per share? 2.73 billion. Again, that's 2.73 billion in domestic box office. And I want you, when you're thinking about that number, to refer back to the numbers I showed you at the beginning. What are we expecting per quarter for the rest of 2023? On average, 2 to 2.4 billion. Although there is a chance that one of the quarters, especially maybe Q2, could be closer to 2.7 and the other ones be closer to 2 or slightly under 2. We'll just have to see. But in 2024, when I keep on telling you guys we need to get around 11 billion in box office domestically, again, 2.75 billion average per quarter, that would mean that potentially every quarter in 2024 is posting a profit, not counting popcorn, not counting credit cards, not paying off any debt. 11 billion is a key for this industry to get to for total domestic box office. And we are headed there in 2024. Now you want to know, what about popcorn? What if we pay off the debt? How do those affect things? I got a couple quick examples to show you, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up and let you ask all of your questions down in the comments and maybe do a follow-up in a live in the next day or so. On this tab, we have the exact same thing as on the tab I was just showing you, except you can see this second green box here. And I just added in a line item for the net profit of popcorn. You can pick your number. I'm going to use a very conservative one. What if we netted $10 million in a quarter for profit on retail popcorn? That would add at the bottom there, you see it goes from 1 penny earnings per share to 2 pennies. So $10 million net profit on popcorn in a quarter. If it were that high, it would add 1 penny to the earnings per share. If it were 25 million net profit in a quarter, that would add a total of 2 pennies to the earnings per share. I'm not going to go any higher than that because popcorn is anybody's guess right now. I don't even know if it'll be 10 million out of the gate. We will have to wait and get a quarter under our belt and get the production really up and get wide distribution across the United States. It's way too early to be talking about big popcorn profits just yet. I need to hear something from the company. But you get a flavor of how it can affect earnings per share per quarter. On this final tab, you can see the green box down here. I have the interest that we're paying on the debt, which is on average around 85 million a quarter. Would there be a difference if AMC paid off all the debt and did not have that interest payment? Because this is the drag on every quarter in terms of debt, is the interest payments that we're paying. We're going to go ahead and still assume 2.73 billion and 1 cent of profit, but now let's eliminate that interest payment and see what happens. The earnings per share goes up by 6 cents by eliminating that interest payment. So we went from 1 cent earnings per share to 7 cents EPS by eliminating that interest payment. Now, is Adam Aron going to pay off the debt? Does he need to? That is a whole different discussion. Remember, right now, AMC has 2 major problems that it is facing. Number 1 is a lack of profitability. Number 2 is a broken balance sheet with $5 billion of debt. For me, I'm not worried as much about $85 million of interest payments on the income statement as I am about $5 billion of debt on the balance sheet, throwing off all the ratios and making the company appear risky in the eyes of Wall Street or any big investment firm that might be wanting to invest in the company. It just is a bad look as far as risk goes. And so at some point, tackling that debt on the balance sheet is important, and it needs to happen. I would probably prefer first having about $2 billion of cash on the balance sheet to make AMC look stronger and have enough cash to get comfortably into 2024, where we expect the box office domestic to be much higher, 11 billion or better. And then anything above 2 billion of cash on the balance sheet should be used to start paying down some of that debt and fix the other problem we have on the balance sheet. We're low on cash, we're high on debt. Tackle the cash problem first, tackle the debt problem second. But we're getting a little off topic talking about the balance sheet. The point of this video is to talk about the income statement, to talk about that domestic box office goal that we need to have to get the translation down to admissions and food and beverage and the trickle down to a positive earnings, a positive EPS. Hopefully this video gave you some insight into that. If you have questions, let me know down in the comments, and I'm happy to do a follow-up with you on the live stream if that would help. Don't forget to like and share this video. Buy and hold the subscribe button if this is your first time here. I am Tony Denaro, and I will see you on the next video.